3 pennies, 3 years, and possibly 3 small fortunes. 1960, 2004, and 2008 might hide rare errors that turn 1 cent into hundreds. Could you have one? The 1960 USA 1-cent penny error is one of those treasures, a humble copper coin that, on the surface, appears ordinary yet hides a fascinating story of minting mishaps, history, and extraordinary value. Imagine holding in your hand a single penny, just 1 cent, the sort of coin that might tumble out of your pocket into the couch cushions without a second thought. Now imagine that penny being worth tens of thousands of dollars, enough to pay off debts, buy a new car, or even make a solid down payment on a home. That is the reality for certain 1960 pennies, and the story of how they came to be is as engaging as it is surprising. The year 1960 was an era of transformation in the United States. John F. Kennedy was on the cusp of the presidency. American culture was buzzing with change, and manufacturing processes across industries were becoming more streamlined. The U.S. Mint was producing coins in huge quantities, especially pennies, which were essential to daily commerce. But in that massive rush of production, small details sometimes slipped through unnoticed details that, decades later, would create legends in the world of numismatics. The 1960 penny stands out because of a striking and unusual error that turned a common coin into a rarity. The most famous of these is known as the small date and large date varieties, and even more fascinating is the double die error that emerged during the minting process. This wasn't just a matter of a slightly smudged design or a faint strike. In some cases, digits in the date were doubled, creating a ghost-like shadow on the numbers. The two varieties, one with a more compact date font, the other with taller, bolder digits, were the result of a transition at the Mint that caught collectors off guard. In the 1960s, the Mint still relied heavily on manual processes in die creation. Each working die was prepared from a master hub, and if that master had imperfections or the hubbing process was repeated imperfectly, it could create a doubled image on the coin's surface. When this error occurred on the date, the result was immediately noticeable under magnification, and in the right lighting, it almost seemed like the coin was whispering its own mysterious past. Some examples show the 6 in 1960 almost sitting atop another 6, a subtle but electrifying detail for collectors who live for such discoveries. Pennies from this era were still made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them a warm, rich color that collectors adore. Over time, the natural oxidation of copper adds a deep red-brown patina, and when well preserved, the coin's luster can be breathtaking. A 1960-era penny in pristine condition doesn't just carry historical significance. It glows with a beauty that mass-produced coins of today can rarely match. For the average person in 1960, a penny was simply pocket change. Kids could use one to buy a small piece of candy, and most adults hardly noticed them unless they were short on exact change. But for collectors today, each surviving 1960-era penny is a time capsule. It tells of a moment when the Mint, perhaps pressured by deadlines or distracted by the demands of mass production, let a small oversight slip through. An oversight that would later become a prize worth guarding. As stories of these coins began circulating in collector circles, interest skyrocketed. People who had jars of old pennies started sifting through them with renewed excitement. Many 1960 pennies came from the Philadelphia and Denver mints, each producing millions of coins, but it was the error varieties that sent hearts racing. The Denver small date over large date variety became particularly famous. This variety shows the numbers of one style faintly visible beneath another, a sort of numismatic palimpsest. The discovery of such varieties often began with keen-eyed collectors who noticed something off under a magnifying glass, triggering a wave of attention from hobbyists and dealers alike. What makes the 1960 penny error so alluring is its blend of accessibility and exclusivity. On one hand, it's a coin that was produced in huge numbers and still appears in circulation occasionally, giving hope to anyone who takes the time to look. On the other hand, finding one in exceptional condition with the right error features is exceedingly rare. The combination of rarity, history, and visual intrigue is the perfect recipe for a collectible that holds and grows its value. Over the decades, these pennies have moved from pockets to piggy banks, from coin jars to safety deposit boxes. Some have been sold at local coin shows for a few dollars, only for the buyer to later realize their true value. Others have made their way to major auction houses, where bidding wars erupt as seasoned collectors and wealthy investors compete for the best examples. The thrill of such auctions lies not just in the money, but in the knowledge that each coin represents a unique survival story. One small disc of copper that somehow dodged the melting pot, the ware of daily use, and the general indifference of the public long enough to be recognized for what it truly is. The condition of a 1960 penny error plays a huge role in determining its worth. In numismatics, condition is king, and grading services like PCGS and NGC have made careers out of meticulously evaluating coins. A 1960 error penny in worn, circulated condition might fetch a modest price, but a gem quality, uncirculated example with vibrant luster and crisp detail can reach jaw-dropping amounts. Under the grading system, coins rated MS65 or higher are the pinnacle of desirability, and when those grades apply to an error variety like the 1960 double die or overdate, the result is an investment-level collectible. Collectors are drawn to coins like this not only for their financial value but for the story they tell. It's a reminder that history is full of small accidents that lead to big consequences. The 1960 penny error is not a grand historical event, but it is a tangible piece of the past, a witness to the craftsmanship, limitations, and quirks of mid-20th century minting. It's a lesson in paying attention to the little things because sometimes the little things are worth the most. Those who specialize in Lincoln Cents, the series that began in 1909 with Victor David Brenner's iconic design of Abraham Lincoln's profile, know that the series is rich with varieties and errors. The 1960 issues are among the most famous of these, and owning one can be the crown jewel of a collection. It is also one of those coins that can turn a casual collector into a passionate numismatist because once you find a rarity like this, the thrill is addictive. In the end, the story of the 1960 USA 1-cent penny error is one of transformation. It's about how a coin that was meant to be just another in a sea of millions became a standout because of a small imperfection. That imperfection, instead of being a flaw, became its greatest asset. It's about the collectors who hunt for these treasures, the experts who authenticate them, and the lucky individuals who find one by chance and discover that their spare change might just be a ticket to something extraordinary. And now, for the moment everyone waits for, the part that transforms this from an interesting piece of history into a genuine jaw-dropper. The value. Depending on its condition, rarity of the variety, and demand among collectors, a 1960 USA 1-cent penny error can command anywhere from $70,000 to $140,000 in today's market. That's right, what was once worth a single cent in 1960 can now rival the cost of luxury vehicles, high-end jewelry, or a comfortable home in many parts of the country. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it. Look closely at the date. Study the digits. Examine its surface for unusual details. You never know, you might be holding a little piece of American history, one that proves that even the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises, and that sometimes the tiniest treasures turn out to be worth a fortune. In the vast world of coin collecting, there are pieces so rare and unexpected that they almost feel like secrets whispered through time. The 2004 US 1-cent penny is one of those hidden treasures, a modern coin that seems too ordinary at first glance to be worth more than its face value, yet hides a fascinating and valuable story that can send collectors into a frenzy. Imagine pulling a penny out of your pocket change and realizing it's worth enough to cover a year's rent, purchase a brand new car, or even take the dream vacation you've always wanted. For those lucky enough to encounter this rarity, the experience is unforgettable, and the history behind it makes it even more compelling. The year 2004 was not particularly remarkable in the history of U.S. coinage to the average person. The Lincoln Cent, bearing Victor David Brenner's enduring design of Abraham Lincoln's profile, had been in circulation for decades. Millions upon millions were struck at the Denver Mint that year, their small copper-plated zinc bodies intended for everyday commerce. Most people who handled them gave them no more thought than the pennies they'd dropped into vending machines or jars by the kitchen sink since childhood. But hidden among that ocean of mass-produced coins were a handful of extraordinary pieces. 2004 Lincoln Cents with rare mint errors or die varieties that would one day make them standouts in the eyes of collectors. One of the reasons certain 2004 pennies became so desirable lies in the complexity of modern minting. Though technology had advanced far beyond the days of purely manual die preparation, it was still not immune to imperfections. Dies could be misaligned, planchets could be struck incorrectly, and in rare cases, double dies or striking anomalies could occur. For the 2004 cent, The most celebrated examples are those with dramatic double die features or striking errors that create extra thickness in the lettering or visible doubling in the date and mint mark. In some cases, the devices, the raised designs and letters, appear as though they have a faint shadow, a clear indication of a doubled image caused during the hubbing process. Unlike older, pre-1982 cents, which were made primarily of copper, the 2004 penny is composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, giving it a bright reddish appearance when freshly minted. While zinc-based coins can corrode more easily if damaged, those rare examples that have been carefully preserved retain an eye-catching luster that is as striking today as the day they were minted. In high grades, with crisp details and full mint red color, a 2004 D-era cent can be visually stunning, and when you combine that beauty with extreme rarity, you have a recipe for a high-demand collectible. For the Denver Mint in 2004, production was fast-paced and massive. Billions of coins were struck that year, the vast majority destined for circulation. The fact that a rare error penny could emerge from such a huge production run is part of what makes the story so intriguing. These weren't coins made for collectors. They were meant to vanish into the stream of commerce, passed from hand to hand for gum, coffee, or parking meters. The fact that some survived without being spent to death is almost miraculous. Collectors often speak of the thrill of cherry picking, a term for spotting rare varieties or errors in otherwise common rolls of coins. The 2004 D penny has provided some of the most exciting cherry-pick stories of the last 2 decades. Imagine a hobbyist sifting through a box of pennies from the bank, expecting nothing more than a few older Lincoln cents or perhaps a shiny uncirculated coin, when suddenly they spot a peculiar detail, the faint doubling in the date, an unusual thickness to the lettering, or a telltale die crack running across the coin's surface. The heart races, the magnifying glass comes out, and in that moment, a potential treasure is discovered. The mystique of the 2004 D cent comes from the fact that it bridges the modern era of coinage with the timeless appeal of minting mistakes. It's easy to think of rare coins as something that only comes from the distant past. But this penny proves that even in the 21st century, the mint is capable of producing coins that will fascinate and inspire collectors for generations. And because it's a modern issue, younger collectors can connect with it in a way that might feel less accessible with a coin from a century ago. Many remember handling 2004 pennies in their own childhood, making the leap from an everyday memory to a prized collectible all the more striking. The grading of these coins plays a huge role in their market value. Professional grading services have authenticated and certified some of the most remarkable examples, assigning them mint state grades that ensure both their condition and their place in numismatic history are secure. A lower-grade error might still be valuable, but a flawless, high-grade example with brilliant red color can send bidders into a frenzy. Auction records show that when these coins come to market, especially in the highest grades, demand far outstrips supply. Stories abound of these coins turning up in the most unexpected places, change jars, coin rolls, even as part of childhood collections rediscovered decades later. There's something magical about the idea that a small, overlooked penny could sit quietly for years before revealing itself as a rare treasure. It's part of what makes coin collecting such an addictive hobby. The possibility that a life-changing discovery is always just one coin away. What makes the 2004 D penny even more appealing is that it's still possible, though rare, to find one in circulation today. It might be lurking in a handful of change from a gas station or at the bottom of a piggy bank. That possibility keeps collectors, both experienced and new, scanning their pennies with a sharp eye. Every time someone flips a coin over and spots the D mint mark beneath the date, there's a small thrill of anticipation. Could this be one of the rare ones? As the years go by, the number of surviving high-grade examples only decreases. Coins wear down, get damaged, or are simply lost to time. That natural attrition means that the best-preserved examples will only become more valuable as demand continues to grow. In the coin market, rarity plus condition plus collector interest equals serious value, and the 2004 D penny checks all 3 boxes with ease. And so we come to the part of the story that turns curiosity into astonishment. This isn't just a quirky modern coin with an interesting error. It's a serious player in the collectible market. Depending on its specific error variety, condition, and grade, a 2004 D US 1-cent penny can command anywhere from $38,000 to $108,000. That's an incredible leap from its humble 1-cent face value and a testament to how something so small and seemingly insignificant can hold extraordinary worth. It's a reminder that in the rush of everyday life, treasures can pass right through our hands without notice. The next time you come across a penny, especially one with the 2004 date and a Denver mint mark, take a closer look. Study the details, check for signs of doubling, and pay attention to its condition. Because you never know, what you think is worth a cent might just be a tiny piece of history worth a fortune. Some coins have a way of hiding in plain sight, blending into the everyday hum of commerce until someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck uncovers their true identity. The 2008 US 1-cent penny is one such coin. A modern Lincoln cent that, for most people, was nothing more than a piece of change rattling in their pocket or sliding into a coin jar. But for collectors who know what to look for, certain rare examples of this penny are far more than loose change. They are treasures with a backstory of minting quirks, survival against the odds, and values that can climb into the tens of thousands of dollars. In 2008, the Lincoln cent was nearing the end of an era. The classic reverse design featuring the Lincoln Memorial had been in use since 1959, and the following year, the mint would debut a series of commemorative reverse designs marking the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Millions of coins poured out of the Philadelphia and Denver mints that year, their gleaming copper-plated zinc surfaces destined for cash registers, tip jars, and pockets across the nation. Among them, however, emerged rare varieties and mint errors that would quietly become legends in the numismatic community. The 2008 penny, like other modern issues, is made of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, giving it a bright reddish tone when new. This composition, introduced in 1982 to replace the earlier 95% copper alloy, reduced costs for the mint, but also introduced new challenges in striking quality. Any flaw in the plating process, misalignment in striking, or die preparation errors could leave behind telltale signs on the coin, signs that today's collectors eagerly hunt for. The most desirable 2008 Lincoln cents often feature double dies or dramatic striking anomalies. In some cases, letters and numbers appear thickened or doubled, creating a shadow-like effect that is especially noticeable in the date and mint mark. Errors like this are born from the intricate, high-pressure process of minting billions of coins. Even in an age of advanced technology, mistakes happen. A double die occurs during the hubbing process when the die receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub, leaving behind an overlapping image. Striking errors, on the other hand, might occur when the coin's planchet is not seated properly in the press, or when debris interferes with the strike. In either case, the result is a coin unlike the rest of its massive mintage, a one-of-a-kind survivor in a sea of identical cents. While the average person in 2008 was focused on rising fuel prices, the financial crisis, and everyday concerns, collectors and sharp-eyed hobbyists were quietly combing through their change. Bank-wrapped rolls of pennies were searched under bright lamps, each coin turned over and inspected for the tiniest irregularities. For most, the search yielded nothing more than a few shiny coins and maybe an older copper cent. But for a few, the hunt revealed a 2008 penny with just the right combination of rarity, error, and condition to make it an extraordinary find. High-grade examples are particularly prized. Coins that have never seen circulation and still blaze with original mint red color are the pinnacle of collectability, especially when paired with a dramatic and well-documented mint error. Professional grading services have authenticated and certified these rare 2008 pennies, sealing them in protective holders that not only preserve their condition but also verify their legitimacy. Once certified, these coins often find their way into major auctions where competition among bidders drives prices skyward. The journey from loose change to high-end auction lot is one of the most exciting aspects of modern coin collecting. Stories circulate of people who, out of sheer curiosity, examined the coins in their pocket and discovered a rarity worth more than their car. Others have pulled one from a jar of pennies saved over the years, only to realize it was a prize worth protecting. This sense of possibility, that life-changing finds might still be hiding in everyday money, is what keeps collectors scanning their change year after year. The 2008 penny is also a reminder that rarity doesn't always require centuries of age. Many people assume that only coins from the 1800s or earlier can be valuable, but mint errors and unique varieties can elevate even a coin that's barely over a decade old into the ranks of serious collectibles. For younger collectors, this creates an accessible entry point into the hobby, one that connects the thrill of discovery with a piece of modern history they personally lived through. Over time, as more of these rare pennies are discovered, certified, and tucked away in private collections. The number available on the open market continues to shrink. Coins get lost, damaged, or remain hidden in boxes and jars, their true nature unknown. That scarcity fuels demand, and demand, in turn, pushes values ever higher. A decade or two from now, today's rare 2008 pennies may be even harder to find, making them all the more desirable to future collectors. And so we come to the part of the story that transforms this unassuming modern cent into a genuine prize. Depending on its specific error, the clarity of its variety, and its overall condition, a rare 2008 US 1-cent penny can command anywhere from $33,000 to $96,000 in today's market. That's an astonishing leap from its face value. A reminder that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. The next time you find yourself with a handful of pennies, don't just pass them off without a glance. Look closely at the date. Check the mint mark. Study the details, because hidden in that pile of change could be a tiny piece of numismatic history. One that proves that even in the modern age, incredible treasures still circulate quietly among us, waiting for the right eyes to notice them.